Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to the 2014 Alumni Recognition Brunch. If you can guess, I am not Jesse James if you're looking at the program in today. I am stepping in. I've got my red shoes. I've clicked them. It's brought me to this place that I call home most days of the week. So welcome, everyone. More than that, I'd like to welcome those that are alums with us today. I'd like to welcome you home as well. I imagine home has changed some since you have graduated. Perhaps it's a little like when you went to summer camp and maybe your parents bought a new house while you were gone. But rest assured, UD is your home. While the university's physical plant has changed much, both academic and co-curricular programs have strengthened over the past 16 years. Enrollment and endowment have grown, but the heart and soul of this place, our mission and vision, grow more robust and sturdy. A mission and vision that has completely wound within the DNA of our school, just as it was when UD was your student home. Why do we recognize alumni achievement and service? The university recognizes you for your achievement and service because when you left your student home, you took your gifts into the world and applied those talents in service of others. Just like those alumni in generations before you who invested their resources and their lives in our school hoped you would do. You lived the dream that we have for our students who now follow your student path and call UD their home today. The dream that we have today is not about what the university could be. It's a dream about what the university can do for and with students, indeed, who each of them might become. A dream that each student will leave this place with the skills to make a living, but perhaps more importantly, the character, the virtue, and the value formation to make a life. It is a privilege and honor to welcome all of you to the Heritage Center, to the beautiful Stratmeyer rehearsal room for today's ceremony. I'd like to call Jim Gunn, the Lindsay undergraduate chaplain, to lead us in a blessing for our time together and to give thanks for our meal. Jim.
Thank you. What a beautiful morning. What a beautiful event. Let's pray. Merciful and almighty God, you sent your Son in the power of the Spirit to be with us. Lord Jesus, you became flesh and dwelt among us. You made your home among us so that we may forever have a home with you. So during homecoming, Lord, I pray that you would pour out your Spirit upon us, but not only upon us who have gathered in this room, but pour your Spirit upon this campus and throughout the institution, so that we may know your will as we seek your blessing. Give us wisdom to know your will and faith and trust to obey it. Lord, this morning I ask that you would bless this food to our bodies, give us health and strength to live for you. Bless the hands that have prepared it, and bless our fellowship to one another. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
As we all are prepared to enjoy a wonderful meal, Tracy will be releasing us to, we'll step out. There's a buffet in the hallway here, and Tracy will release the table. So please enjoy your company, your fellowship, as until that time. I'm hearing wonderful comments on your meal, so if we all give applause while they're still in the room with us here and say thank you. for helping us with the celebration today. This pen and I are not getting along today. That's okay. Well, while folks are just grabbing a treat here, we'll continue with our program today. One of the greatest joys for me during homecoming is seeing alums from reunion classes come together and renew friendships and share memories. When President Bullock talks with prospective students, one of the things that he tells them is that when they come to UD, they will make friends for a lifetime. At 18 or 19, it's hard. It's hard to understand that can happen. And you can look around your tables with your classmates and know that is true. They will be part of their life from that point on. They'll share weddings, births, graduations, and other moments as their families go through stages of life. Coming home to UD, though, is special, and its times become more and more meaningful as the years roll along to your 40th, your 50th, and your 60th year reunions. 20 years ago, I was blessed to recognize the class of 1954 as they celebrated their 40th reunion. And because of this, it is extra special for me to honor them and welcome members of that class here today for their 60th reunion. I would like to express my thanks to Al Stratmeyer, Arnie Ziegler, and Ralph Plimpton for their work in organizing this reunion. Unfortunately, Ralph couldn't be with us as he is still recovering from some back surgery and didn't recover as fast as he would have liked to. And Al was with us, but he jetted off as he is also celebrating with his fraternity, who they are celebrating their 75th this homecoming as well. So there's a group together for that. But Arnie, if you would please stand so we can recognize you for and you can stay up because I'm going to have your classmates stand with you. So other members of the class of 54, please stand with Arnie. And they get to gather later today as a class and have another meal. It is also a privilege for me to welcome the members of the class of 1964 who are here for their 50th and express my thanks to Wayne Anderson. Another reunion as well. And Woody Longley, who is who's going to wave, who also worked to help bring their class together. And other members of the class of 64, if you would please stand. Al, Arnie, Ralph, Wayne, and Woody, thank you for your letters, your emails, your phone calls to your classmates. It is because of your encouragement that we get to celebrate this weekend with all of you. We look forward to celebrating many more with each and every one of you. It is now my privilege to introduce Dr. Jeffrey Bullock, whom I've had the opportunity to work alongside most of my 21 years as we strengthen this place we call home, the mission and vision known as the University of Dubuque.
Well, Claire and I are both getting younger as we get here. Well, it's great to have all of you back and to welcome you back to the University of Dubuque, and I can tell as I've talked with all of you and gone around the tables that you're having a wonderful time, and that will continue. I also want to let you know that I have just met with, is Jim Gunn still here? I think he left, and this is why. He'd asked me if I'd do the benediction. He's our campus chaplain. Well, he also leads a prayer service for the football team, and he said, well, should I do that or the benediction? And I said, that's not even a question. We need prayer, we need healing, we need inspiration. I don't care, whatever you can do. So, which leads me into my lone joke for the day is, how do you know that God is a University of Dubuque fan? This is the old Penn State joke is, well, why else would the sky be blue and white? You know, so. I'm pretty certain God even wants our offense to get under, what's going on, he says. So it has truly been a remarkable week here. And, you know, the real privilege that I have in serving as your president is I have the privilege of getting to know people from all the different eras. And Claire mentioned it best, I think, when she said the DNA here, that it's really a palpable sense that I hope you can feel on this campus, is really not anything new. It has been the heart and soul of this campus for its entire history. Now, when we've strayed as a university, when we've strayed from that kind of core DNA commitment is when we've gotten into trouble, I think. And at its core, that DNA here is about relationships. It's about building healthy relationships, students with students, faculty with students, faculty and staff with students with each other. And if we do that and are attentive to that and do that well, there's really a transformative educational experience that takes place here. And transformation is a word, of course, that we used a number of years ago as we went through the plan for transformation. But I think what we've grown into, and maybe didn't realize at the time, is the heart and soul and the core of our educational experience here is a personal transformation. And we who are here every day really have the privilege of experiencing that on a daily basis. We see, I just greeted, we have a preview day here as well, a lot of students and their families and juniors and seniors, and they're already looking at schools. And one of the things I share in my talk with them, I said, you know, in lots of ways, the intellectual part of the equation here is the easy part of what we do. I said, now, it won't feel easy when you undergo your first series of final examinations. It won't feel easy. But in lots of ways, the intellectual part of what we do, the teaching, is the teaching of content, is the easy part of what we do. The harder part of what we do is the thing that is so unusual in higher education today. And that part is the formational part of the experience. The phrase we use around here is we have what we call a caring intrusiveness. When we were working on that phrase to describe kind of what we do here, one of the suggestions was, well, you know, intrusive is kind of a harsh word. How about, why don't we use the word watchfulness, that we have a caring watchfulness? And I said, I can watch somebody kind of run off a cliff. I can care about them and watch them do it. I'm hoping that if I'm running off the cliff, somebody cares enough about me to intrude and keep me from walking off that cliff. Caring intrusiveness is really about relationships. It's about, and you can't do that if you don't know people, if you don't know students, if you don't know each other. And so it's the privilege we have as faculty and staff members to sit down with students and to see, for example, as we in the first 2 years take regular attendance, and we see, you know, that a student has missed class for 2 days in a row, 2 class periods in a row. Well, there's a group that calls UD Cares that gets put into action, and they have an intervention with that student. And you say, what's going on? Because class attendance isn't, you know, normally we think, oh, they're being lazy or they're sleeping. Usually it's a predictor of something else going on in their lives. And so if we can intervene at that moment, we can often find out what the problem is, intervene, put some corrective action into place, gather around students, and that's what we do. So The world I live in needs more places like that, frankly. We need places, institutions that are less concerned about ranking and prestige, which the older I get, I realize those things don't mean anything in the light of eternity. What matters is the personal relationship and the ability and the privilege to transform a life, to help a young person identify their gifts, their abilities, and when they identify them, they're set free to be who they were created to be. That's our mission in a nutshell. That's what we're about, and I'm proud to serve with people who practice that discipline and experience that privilege every day. Faculty members, staff members, that's why they're here, and that's why we're all here. So it's a privilege to be here. It's a privilege to be with all of you. We're at a great place in our history. I do think the best years are ahead of us, and you can all participate in that. You'll be hearing more as we're in the middle of we've just finished the quiet phase and in the middle of the more now public phase of our campaign. We're going to be starting a campaign now to renovate all of our historic buildings. So the buildings that you were in, the ones you remember, we're in the process of renovating and updating. Severance Hall, Van Vliet Hall, Peters Commons, Stoltz McCormick, and I'm missing more. Aitchison Hall, thank you. So how many of you lived in Aitchison Hall? Okay, we've got $1.9 million that we need to raise for Aitchison Hall. So how many of you ever were in the Severance Hall? Okay, well, we've got, what is it, about $2.1 million to raise for Severance Hall. How many of you were in Van Vliet Hall? Margie, you're in trouble. We've got $1.8 million to raise for Van Vliet Hall. But you get my drift. The purpose now is we want every building on this campus to have been touched by the transformation. You all can help with that. You can be a part of that as we work to experience that together. And as we finish the work that we began, and as we begin the new chapter that will continue to unfold before us as the University of Dubuque. So to our alums, the class of 1954, the class of 1964, I hope to be in your place someday. And to our award recipients, congratulations. You exemplify, I think, the very best of what we hope we continue to do with our students. Thank you all. God bless you. And go Spartans. Thank you.
I always hate to follow President Bullock, but I'm pleased to work with him. Well, you know, once you have the floor, short of bringing the music up behind you or a shepherd's crook, you get to do things. So I want to just take a minute of personal privilege to do something that I think all of us on this campus would sign up with me to do. I'd like to take a moment to recognize someone who makes great contributions to the life and program of the university. Presidency is not only a profession, it's a lifestyle. It's also very much a team venture. I'd like to take this opportunity for us to have the opportunity to publicly recognize Dana Bullock. And would you stand up? I know, please. It's an opportunity for us to thank you for your many contributions that you make to the life of this community. Those of us who get to work with her on a daily basis, we get a lot of insights, guidance, wisdom, and countless acts of kindness from Dana. And most particularly, we're grateful to her for being a strong partner on the presidential team. So thank you. Will I have a job when this is over? This year, It's just an honor for me to be able to present the 2014 Alumni Achievement Awards. And this year, we honor 2 Spartan alumni with the Alumni Professional Achievement Award. This award was inaugurated in 1994 and honors a graduate who, 15 years after graduation, has made significant contribution to and achievement in his or her chosen professional field. To be considered for this award, the alumnus or alumna will have demonstrated a clear commitment to excellence in his or her chosen career. The person will also have achieved visible public recognition for achievement in leadership, which positively reflects on the university's mission. Gary Olson, class of 1970. Would you come up and join me? Gary Olson has an amazing record of accomplishment as an artist, multimedia producer, author, and documentary filmmaker that is outlined in your program. And I'm not going to go through that. That would take us up to kickoff. But in our community, he is without a doubt an iconic figure whose many creations generate a luminous reflection on the University of Dubuque, his alma mater. I'm going to take a little poetic license here, Gary. So, you know, we often hear the phrase, bloom where you're planted. Well, Gary has given those of us who live in this glorious part of Iowa a great gift. Through his painting, he's helped us to open the iris of our perception about the beauty of the land, the architecture, and the people who surround us in our daily lives. Artists see things a bit differently, and I'd say more clearly than the rest of us. They show us the nuance and the essence, in the beauty, actually, that's all around us. And Gary could have chosen Tuscany or the fjords of Norway. I hope you're not a Swede. Thank goodness.
Apologies to the Swedes over here at this time.
Sorry. Well, I have to remember that Sweden once was part of Norway. Oh, I've got that backwards, sorry. It all depends on your perspective. But he and Linda chose to show us Dubuque land and to open our eyes to the great beauty that surrounds us. Bring your passion and we'll make it happen. These are the closing words in the letter of acceptance for admission that each new Spartan receives. Gary is a model to current and prospective students of just what one can accomplish when you bring your passion, joy, and energy to one's work infused with a commitment to excellence. He's also shown us that there's more than one way to approach one's career and that it's possible to reinvent oneself continuously. You bring honor to the University of Dubuque as we recognize excellence in every dimension of your professional life with the 2014 Alumni Professional Achievement Award.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. This is so lovely. I brought a photographer. And I see you did too, so that's all good. Thank you. Thank you so much. I prepared some remarks. They're only 2 minutes long. However, I didn't count on laughs and applause, so if it goes long, it's on you. I'm here with family and friends, and I think that's important to know because of my wife, who I met here in my sophomore year, Linda Breitbach. We've been together now 44 years. She's my partner in all things creative. And it's been quite an adventure, I must say. Not long after graduation in 1970, we were married. And actually July 25th, on the anniversary of my mother and father-in-law. And my mother-in-law is here, and my father-in-law's memory is here with me. And she's 91 years old, and she's sitting right over there, and I'm just proud as... I'm so proud that she's here because a little later on she'll provide us with a very in-depth critique of my remarks and a review of the food, which is good. She's a hoot. Not long after graduation, about 5 or 6 years after we graduated, I met Walter Peterson here, and we all know who Walter Peterson is. Walter Peterson was one of the great presidents of the University of Dubuque, and he was an art lover and a civic leader, and he was just an absolute wonderful man, and he was a mentor for me. And he had classes up in Van Vliet Hall, the second floor, with Frank Licciardi, his friend, who became my friend and mentor also. And we took classes, and it was just absolutely marvelous. And it really set me on a career as a creative person. I was working in broadcasting at the time, so it was a great, it was just another creative enterprise that I was involved in that involved quick thinking and creative visual thinking, visual communications, these kinds of things. So it was a natural for me to get involved in that. And I've had many jobs since graduation. I don't call them jobs, I call them income streams. Hardy Advertising, Hardy Interactive, National Computer Systems, the Dubuque Community Schools, and all had one thing in common. I actually got to create my own job description in most cases. I actually got to, I would be hired for one thing, and then pretty soon I'd be doing what I had more potential and interest in. And all of my employers were extremely gracious about that. My responsibilities would naturally be expanded. So now at age 66, it's only fitting that I return to the place where it all began, the University of Dubuque. I'm also accompanied by friends and family, otherwise known as the Rowdy Table over here. And Nancy is here, my sister-in-law, and her son, Andrew, who just graduated. Well, he just passed the bar exam in Florida. He flew up for this, which is, I'm very grateful. And so I owe a tremendous amount to this institution. It's not just that you taught me a lot of things. Actually, you taught me a little about a lot of things. And that's the great tradition of the liberal arts education. My dear friend and the man who fixed my hernia, Edmund O'Neill, Dr. O'Neill is here, with his wife Mickey and family. And he once told me that a liberal arts education prepares you better than any other type of education, because if you know a little about a lot of things, you can carry on a conversation with just about anyone. And as humorous as that assessment seems to some of us, it actually is the essence of a good communicator. I readily admit it has been the key to my success these many years. I think it's important to put my life in context with the university and the continuous influence it's had on my life and career. I actually felt at home when I arrived in Dubuque in 1966 to attend college, and it was a home I never left. I had a lot of opportunities to leave, but I was planted here, and I grew here. I found family here, and I made my life here. And there were those times I encountered difficulties, and it was my friends and my family that got me through them. And in a way, you can say I remained loyal to the community that was loyal to me. In appreciation of this honor that you have bestowed upon me, one of my paintings hanging in the gallery is of the Heritage Center, and if I could have Alan Garfield, who manages that facility, come up, and of course, professor of graphic arts and all that. And thank you. And I want to present that to President Jeffrey Bullock as a gift to the University of Dubuque. I hope you find a nice place for it. Now, if you've seen the collection, which is in the Bisignano Gallery across the hall, you know, too, that I drew portraits of people who directly or indirectly have had an impact on my life. And I included Frank Hardy, for example, of Frank Hardy advertising fame. I know many of you in the room remember him. Carl Johnson, Joan Mulgrew, Frank Licciardi. And I included Jeffrey Bullock because of this fine facility and the impact that he has had as a leader here at the University of Dubuque, and this incredible facility that I get a chance to be exhibiting in. And I want you to accept that portrait as a gift, President Bullock, and in appreciation of this fine facility and its art gallery. And I don't want it ever to be said, I never left a tip.
I think there are many fine places for that painting, and I've just been wondering if my office wall would be one of them. But I think he may have a better idea. Okay. Bob Schaefer, undergraduate class of 1975 and graduate MBA class of 1994. Bob has served as Dubuque Mercy Hospital in a variety of staff positions through a 40-year career at the medical center. And it's always kind of interesting to know where somebody starts. Bob started as a nursing assistant at Mercy, and that was 40 years ago. And there's an interesting story with this. You know, most people think that CFOs lead a life of audits and numbers, but actually how he and Barb met is probably most interesting. When he was a nursing assistant, he and Barb met in the mental lockup unit first at Mercy Hospital. And Barb was careful to point out that they were working. So I just want to I add that as a disclaimer. Well, from a nursing assistant, he now serves as Vice President for Finance and Chief Financial Officer of Mercy. To say that being the CFO of a major medical center in this challenging healthcare environment requires skill, nimbleness, wisdom, and creativity is perhaps an understatement. His ability to navigate these stormy seas has been recognized by peers in his field. An active member of the Iowa chapter of Healthcare Financial Management Association, he has been awarded the Bronze, Silver, Gold, Fulmer Merit Award, the association's Medal of Honor, and the Robert M. Shelton Award. And even with a demanding professional responsibility, Bob has made time to be of service through board membership at NICC, the Stonehill Benevolent Foundation, Dollars for Scholars, and Dubuque YMCA. Bob, you bring honor to the University of Dubuque as we recognize your demonstrated excellence in your profession, as well as your commitment to community service with the 2014 Alumni Professional Achievement Award.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. You know, I'm not used to, well, I talk to a lot of people, a lot of groups, but this was a little different for me because usually I have a laptop, I'm talking about numbers. I do not have a laptop and I am not talking about numbers. In fact, my speech is written on the back of 6 of my business cards. There's a reason for this. About 6-8 months ago, I told my administrative assistant, you got to get me some business cards, I'm out. Now, I'm 61 years old, and I plan on following my wife in retirement in about a year. She ordered 500. I would not go through 500 business cards in 20 years, but she ordered 500. Okay. Before I get started, I'd like to just congratulate the other award winners today. I think it's a wonderful day, and congratulations to you. And I'd like to congratulate Dr. Bullock and the staff here at the UD. Now, by looking at me, I'm a short little fat guy, but if you read my little bio that was in, I am a walker. I live 1 mile that way. I live just off Pennsylvania Avenue. And I'm an avid walker. Well, I was until I got older, fatter, and lazier. But anyhow, I'm a walker. And I have walked through this campus, I don't know how many times in the last 20 years, 25 years. My route would take me up here. I would walk over to Washington Junior High. I'd walk over to Highway 20, come up through the new dorms and walk through. And I can't tell you the changes I have seen on a daily basis here. This is a wonderful place now. It's a lovely campus. So congratulations. A couple other things I noticed recently was last week, I saw that the Telegraph Herald, the local newspaper, published the enrollments. And hopefully I'm getting this right. It looked to me like UD had the highest enrollment of the 3 schools at Dubuque. And I think it's been a long time since we've seen that. Also recently, I think it was in yesterday's paper, there was an article about congratulating the UD on its accomplishment on the Capitol campaign. So I congratulate you on that too. Okay? Now I have to talk a little bit about when I was a student here. I call myself a non-traditional, traditional student. I was young, I was about 20. I was a transfer in. I did not have much activity in the campus. I did not live on campus. I went to school here and I worked nights. I had to work nights because I did not come from a background where I could afford to go to a private school without working. So I was here and I worked. Well, I don't have many friends or many stories. I didn't go to a lot of the activities, but I felt my education was good. I met my wife at Mercy, and I worked there for a while, and one day she said to me, I think you should go back to school. I always kind of egged her along to go back to school, and she wouldn't do it. So she looked at me and she said, well, why don't you? So I did. I came back, and I came to the UD in 1974. I got my MBA. It was a good experience. When people ask me about my experience with that MBA, the thing I remember most was the international students. We had 20 kids in my class that graduated, 10 of them were internationals. I had no exposure to international students. I grew up in Iowa, lived here most of my life, except for a couple of years I was in Wisconsin. So it's a good experience there. I want to talk a little bit about Mercy. I'm really proud of my employer. In fact, I got an award like this a few years ago at NICC. And I said, you know, it's easy to get awards and be engaged when you're proud of your employer, when you love your family, and you like your community. And I really am proud of Mercy. I worked there 40 years. They gave me great opportunities in 40 years. I can't tell you the things that I've been exposed to. They pushed me to get more education. They pushed my involvement throughout the state as far as the involvement on my professional association. They've been great. It's a great hospital. In fact, there's a dynamic in a hospital working there that people don't realize. My office is right off the front door. So when I'm out and about going to a meeting or going to the cafeteria or whatever, I see a lot of people coming and going. There's so much emotion in a hospital, it would just blow you away. 1 minute I'll be walking through the hospital and I'll see a couple that's happy they're going home with a little baby. An hour later I might be going down the hall and I see people who are crying because they just lost a loved one. Hospitals have that emotion, they're dynamic, they're wonderful places to work at. I really, really applaud you for having a nursing program here. We get a number of nurses from your program here, and hospital workers are just fabulous. And Mercy's a great, great hospital. We're lucky to have it here in Dubuque. Okay, I'm on number 4, I got 6 of them. I want to tell you a little about myself. I'm kind of boring, okay? My wife says to me all the time, my God, we got to change this house up. I've been reporting to the same job for 40 years. I've been living in the same house for 28. I've been married to the same woman for 37. And I just got a new car. I got rid of my 2001 Volkswagen Bug. It was almost 14 years old. I don't like change. So when I reflect on that, I think, why don't I like change? Well, it's because I see so much in my work life. I can't tell you how much I have seen in the years in healthcare, especially in the healthcare financial arena. It changed so much, guys, it's unbelievable. It's really gonna change more. We're in a period now with Obamacare, and I don't say that to be disrespectful. I heard President Obama say he likes the term, so I feel freely to use it. But it's really changing, and there's so much of it that I think in my private life, that's why I'm kind of an old boring guy. But anyhow, people ask me sometimes why you strive to do the things you do, why your involvement. And you know, I thought about that, and I thought, well, I used to think, well, it's probably because I'm a competitive guy. I know by looking at me, you don't realize this, but I used to be a pretty decent athlete in high school. I played a lot of sports, and I love sports. So I thought it was the competitive side of me. But you know something, I don't think it really is. I think the reason why I strive to do so well is you wanna do well, especially when you have a family. I think there's an inherent feeling you have when you're in the professional world that you want your wife and your kids to be proud of you. So you work for that more than anything. You know, I'm in the twilight of my life here at the hospital. I'm gonna retire in about a year. I already told my boss that sometime in calendar 2015, I'm out the door. So I'm kind of reflecting on some of the things. And there's three things I like to thank, or three people I like to thank. One is the hospital. They've been great to me. It's been a wonderful, wonderful place. I'd like to thank the University of Dubuque for giving me the academic base to accomplish what I did. And I'd like to thank my wife, Barb. You know, I have 2 kids, and I worked a lot. You don't get into jobs like I had and not work a lot of hours. I think if there's a lot of any accounting people out there in the audience here, you realize that. I worked a lot of hours. I went to school at nights, the MBA. I went one at night. I coached baseball. I coached basketball. I served on a lot of boards. Barb, my wife's the one that hung it together for our kids. I have 2 kids. They're adult age now. They're 30 and 32, and so far they turned out okay. So thanks again for coming. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Bob. Move on to the Service to Community Award. This award was also inaugurated in 1994, and the Service to Community Award is awarded to an alumnus or alumna who's demonstrated a clear commitment to serving the community through notable volunteerism, an outstanding act of selflessness, or a pattern of service to humanitarian efforts and causes. Loretta Gracious Bremer, class of 1962. Would you please come forward? Loretta Gracious Bremer is currently a consultant to the Presbytery of Chicago for misconduct prevention, helping the church develop and maintain safe boundary policies, arranging and leading seminars and workshops to help keep churches as safe places. She's taken a leadership role in helping churches deal with one of the most vexing issues of our time. She's also a certified church educator, has served as a consultant, retreat leader, and workshop presenter, director of congregational life in 2 Chicagoland churches, and interim executives for ministry in the Chicago Presbytery. She received the Life Achievement Award from the Association of Presbyterian Educators. She's served on numerous presbytery committees: education, youth, volunteer ministry, preparation, and ministry. She's also served a term as moderator of the Presbytery of Chicago. In addition to her bachelor's degree in Christian education from UD, she holds a master's degree in human resources from National Louis University. Loretta, you bring honor to the university through your commitment to using your many gifts in service to church and world, which the university recognizes with the 2014 Alumni Service to Community Award.
That's super. I want a picture. Thanks. Thanks so much. That's awesome. I'm overwhelmed, and I have no idea why I'm even here. But I do thank you. And you know, Dr. Bullock, when you were giving your little speech there, I thought, I could just stand up and say ditto, because I'm going to say many of the same kind of things, which I think is great. It is an overwhelming honor to be here to receive this award. And I am grateful, so grateful to the University of Dubuque for many, many things. I came to the University of Dubuque because of Gene Siekman. Some of you might remember that name. Gene Siekman was from the University of Dubuque, and he traveled, I'm sure he traveled more than Iowa, but he traveled to our church in Rudd, Iowa. And so we were very well acquainted with the University of Dubuque, especially the seminary here, because we were served with so many, many part-time student pastors. So when I came to university, I immediately felt at home. It was because of the classmates I found here, the professors, and the wonderful staff. They made me feel very, very welcome. I remember meeting with an advisor, and the advisor said, and I don't remember who that was, it's really bad, but this person said to me, "What's your career choice?" I haven't a clue. So they talked to me about Christian education, which I had no idea what that was. I really didn't know. But that's what I did, and that's what I continue to do to this day. Now, Dr. Charles Tyrrell, was the professor in Christian education. He would be so amazed that I'm here, that I'm still working in Christian education, I'm sure. But I'm here. I believe that the U of D created for me an environment that allowed me to become what I am and what I'm called to be. People here knew who you were. They knew where you were from, and they knew what was happening in your life. Not just the students, but the faculty. Dr. Couchman, awesome man. He knew all of us. And Dr. Annie Aitchison, Grace Boehner, and Hazel Roethlisberger just formed what I did. They were our Delta advisors. I'm a Delta. And yes, I am. But you know, they taught us to wear hats, gloves. They don't do that anymore, I'm sure. But Annie had us to her house to make little, what do you call those little things? What do we call them? Peticores, yes. I mean, I was overwhelmed. Here I was in the kitchen of a professor at the University of Dubuque. It was a wonderful opportunity for me. It really was. And then Dr. Day did their history things. But you know, Dr. Bailey opened up the Bible for me. Different things that I had never ever heard when I was growing up in Sunday school in Rudd, Iowa. And I was amazed at that. Just recently in the Presbyterian Outlook, which is the Presbyterian magazine that comes out, they had the last issue was all colleges and universities. And in that magazine, it says that the University of Dubuque has formed a partnership with the University of Iowa Law School. So people who attend university, who are juniors who want to go to law school, can already be admitted or do something with that partnership with the University of Iowa. So I thought about that, and I thought, you know, that's what we're about here at university, partnerships and connections. I remember partnerships and connections, and they're very important. One of the things that happened was a partnership that we had when I was here with Johnson C. Smith University. Now that's an African American school. down in Charlotte, North Carolina. You have to realize I'm from a farm in Iowa, right? Okay, you have to know where I come from. But when I was here, must have been during the 60s, when all the racial thing was happening all over, we had a partnership with that school. We sent some students there, and they sent students to us. And one of the gals roomed with me. Wonderful partnership. Opened up all kinds of things for me. I thought, what an opportunity. Another partnership. Senor Pascual, okay, I took Spanish, okay? I love Senor Pascual. He didn't know English and I didn't know Spanish. That's how I got through Spanish, really. He was awesome because he was so trying to learn English. And I so wanted to help him because I didn't know Spanish. But you know, he came, and there must have been some kind of a partnership with the University of Dubuque and Cuba. I don't know what it was. I have no idea. But several years ago, I went to Cuba with the Presbytery of Chicago. And when I was there, I thought, oh, this is where Pascual came from with his family. He escaped and came to Dubuque. He probably had different stops along the way, but he was here. What an opportunity for me to connect with people from Cuba. It was wonderful. So those are just two of the events that happened when I was here. And they modeled for me a way that people reach out to others. We learn from each other, and we shared a vision of how that world might look. Dr. Tyrrell told me in one of my classes that my job as a Christian educator was to work myself out of a job. I never understood what that meant, but now I do. That made an impression on me. But I've tried over the years to encourage people that I've come in contact with to use their gifts and their passions to the best of their ability. I've made lifelong friends here. I've made so many, and I seem to connect with them whenever I come back or whenever I see them. I had a great time at the university. I studied a little bit. I partied a lot. I enjoyed it all. I love the connections that I made, but I will always be grateful to the University of Dubuque. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Dan Ruggles, Director of Athletics. I'm happy that you're all here today. Bob Schaefer, as all award winners, congratulations. Bob comes to a lot of our sporting events. I love his support. I usually just see him at basketball games. He's only critical usually about one time, and that is, Runk, you're out of hot dogs. He loves to come to the games and eat hot dogs, all right? President Bullock talked about caring intrusiveness. In athletics, we have another word for it. Sometimes we call it in-your-face intrusiveness. But either way, we hopefully can get the job done. Today, I'm here to present the first Solomon Butler Character and Courage Award. This is an award that we decided would be a neat thing to start. So the Solomon Butler Character and Courage Award is named after probably the most famous athlete ever to compete at UD. However, this award does not reflect the outstanding athletic performances, but rather the extreme sacrifices and challenges that he faced as a son of a slave attending a school in Iowa in the 1900s. One can only imagine the many racial challenges that Sol Butler encountered. This award attempts to mirror some of the hardships and challenges of Sol Butler as it is presented to a former University of Dubuque student athlete who has overcome physical limitations to compete in athletics while displaying high moral character and/or, their papers are falling down here, excuse me, and/or has performed heroic deed or gone above and beyond the call of duty while serving in the military, law enforcement, or as a first responder. This year's recipient had a lung removed when he was 2 years old. Through perseverance and determination, he went on to succeed beyond expectations, not only at UD, but in life. He was a highly successful high school track athlete, a 4-year letter winner in track for the Spartans. He was a member of the Iowa Conference championship team. He was truly a Renaissance student, as he also sang in the choir and performed in the theater. He went on to earn a law degree and have a very successful law practice for 40 years. Then he suffered a major stroke, and he was determined to get back and work again, and he did. I can say many things about our recipient, but when visiting with his teammates and his classmates, the words that kept coming back were, he was the best teammate ever. What a statement. He truly cared about the students with whom he associated and his teammates. He personified what we hope to be all about at the University of Dubuque. I'm very proud to present the first Soul Butler Character and Courage Award to Mr. Danny Hansen from the class of 1958. Sorry. Let's look up right over there. Got it?
All right, all right. Annie Aitchison, where are you when I need you? I can hear her squeaky voice now. God love her. Some of you were saying, oh my God, how many pages is that thing gonna last? Good afternoon, my name is Danny Hansen. I was in the class of 1957, I think. I want to take just a short minute of one of our outstanding students, Soul Butler. Soul Butler was argumentatively the finest athlete ever to attend the University of Dubuque. He was an African-American boy who came in from Hutchinson, Kansas, and first came to Dubuque in 1917, 1918. One of the first meets in which Soul Butler excelled was in the Drake Relays, where he won first place in 5 different events, a feat that has never been done at the Drake Relays. Soul was not only a track and field star, he was also a football great. He was a state quarterback. In 1918, Dubuque had won their 3rd consecutive championship title. One football game in particular that year, and that is the one with Buena Vista. I love this part. In the game, Saul Butler ran for touchdowns from 35, 65, 95 yards. The final score was, get this folks, get this, the final score was 125 Dubuque, Buena Vista, nada, 0, zilch. I love that part. My brother went to Buena Vista. He redeemed himself by coming to the UNICEF seminary here. He never talked about it. In 1919, Butler continued to dominate the track and field within the state, within the nation, and worldwide. The track team again won the conference meet, led by Butler, who ran the 100-yard dash in 10.2. Admittedly, this is probably not the fastest 100-yard dash, but you got to remember this is 1917. Butler set a U.S. record in the broad jump when he leaped 24 feet, 9 3/4 inches. Butler twice participated in the pen relays, winning the broad jump both times. While serving again in the U.S. Army in World War I, maybe some of you remember that. Sorry, lost my head there. He took part in the Inter-Allied Games in Paris in 1919, again winning the broad jump. Now, when I went to track meets when I was going to the University of Dubuque, I would get to go to Co, maybe, or Beloit. This guy goes to Paris. And I said, "What's going on here? Do we have that much money?" Anyway, sorry again. The following is a quote from Bert McCrane, a longtime sports editor for the Des Moines Register. With the Olympic Games scheduled for renewal in 1920 after the wartime interruption in 1916, Butler was rated a heavy favorite for the championship. His winning jump in Paris, 24 feet 9 3/4 inches, was only 2 inches away from the Olympic record. 2 inches. He was considered a strong possibility for a new Olympic record. Butler went on to Antwerp. There you go again. I get to get a co. He gets to go to Antwerp for the 1920 Olympics, but misfortune nailed him real quickly. On his very first jump in the Olympic preliminaries, he pulled a tendon and was forced to resign. That's all right. You don't want to hear that part anyway.
That was somebody else's speech.
Yeah, thank you. But today, the spirit of Saul Butler lives on. His race undoubtedly created numerous obstacles in his life, but those obstacles were pretty well left overcome. As for myself, when I was 2 years old, I had my left lung removed for medical reasons. This also became a major major obstacle in my life. In spite of it, and after I'd captured the Iowa High School state championship 3 times in the 440 and the 220 dash, I could not allow this obstacle to stand in the way. The University of Dubuque beckoned me. Today, UD is celebrating the Saul Butler's memory by creating the first Edmund Solomon Character and Courage Award. The Alumni Athletic Hall of Fame has selected me to be the first recipient of this award. My friends go out to my dear friends, Reverend Lloyd Lumshaw of the class of 56, and Roger Red Patton of the class of 57 for their efforts in making this all happen. Lloyd and Red have been my stands, my friends, and fellow Phi Oats, yay, for over 60 years. I'm especially appreciative of the fine efforts of Dan Runkle, the Director of Athletics, and his efforts in creating this award. Dan, I am humbled, and I'm thankful, and I thank you. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations. Can I take it over?
Perfect. That's right. Well, it's a handsome-looking table here, so why not? That's right. That's right. I did need those notes on the floor, so. Let's again share our congratulations with all of today's honorees, if we can get them. you all help make this house a home. Now, before Jim, now I will insert Jeff, returns to share the benediction. I had one request from Jonathan Helmke, who is our very capable archivist. They are working. We will celebrate the 100-year of McCormick Gymnasium. And they are trying to capture this, and we'll be doing a recognition of that right after the beginning of the year, after one of the home football or basketball games. So if you have a special memory that you would like to share, we would love to capture that to help us prepare for this wonderful tribute. And they are up at the upper floor, up by registration, and would be more than willing to share that conversation with you and capture that memory. So if anybody would have one they'd like to share, I know Jonathan would appreciate very much if you'd have an opportunity to share that with him. And just so you know, there may be a football game later today, and I hope that you're all able to stay and cheer on the Spartans as they show Simpson Storm that Spartan Nation, this is home ground for us. So we thank you all again. I will welcome Jeff back up to the podium as we end our time together.
Thank you, Claire. There have been many transitions over the years into the advancement office, and but one of the real steady feature in that office is Claire Ferguson. And Claire, we thank you and value you. Gary, thank you for this beautiful painting, and thank you for the portrait. It was awkward. Never had a portrait, and hadn't planned on it. And I shared that with my wife, and she said, "You know, Jeff, the thing is, all presidents are eventually hanged. So there you go." So. And I said, "You mean a portrait, right?" No. So the last bit of thanks we'd like to do here, and I'll put them on the spot. All of us here, certainly me in my role as president, get so many accolades, and frankly, they're not possible and would not. I don't know that they're deserved, but they certainly wouldn't be possible without some folks who've become very dear friends of Dana and me over the years, and those are the members of our Board of Trustees. And so I'd like to invite our board members to stand, and I'd like to recognize our board chair, Mr. Clapety. And these are the finest people that I have in my life. Without a doubt, they've made all of us better people. They've made me a better president, and I couldn't think of a better group of people to serve with than my friends and the members of your board. So board members, will you please stand so we can acknowledge all of you? And now I'll invite the rest of you to stand, and so we together can experience the benediction. Our benediction today will be quite simple, but hopefully very appropriate during this time. May God's peace and God's presence be with all of us during this time of challenge and during this time of great opportunity. And importantly, may the Lord be with you, may the Lord be with me while we are absent one from another. And all God's people said, Amen. Thank you.